Welcome once again to Noah's Snark, where two former religious types and current snarks take a look at religious media on its own terms.
I'm Hillary.
And I am Josh, aka Ozzy's voice.
Ozzy's voice.
Ozzy's voice.
Was it Ozzy Osbourne?
Yeah.
Okay.
Alright, so, first, let's talk about what we are doing today.
We are doing a movie
called
This Is the End.
Yeah. And I chose it for a very particular reason.
A very particular reason.
Do you want to explain? Should I?
You should explain.
Well, this is in fact the end, because after today, the show's over.
The show is over.
We're just not doing it anymore.
We are stepping aside.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's not going anywhere.
No.
But it's over.
It's going to be in the universe forever till we die.
But this is the end.
Mm-hmm.
And the movie exists, and it's fun.
My only friend, the end. It's a Doors song.
Oh, I knew it sounded familiar. You know, I really like the Doors, but I'm not familiar enough to be like, you know, the Doors.
The more I know about Jim Morrison, the more I hate the Doors.
That is fair.
Yeah.
The more I...
Not the actual musician's fault that he's a twat, but...
Yeah. The more I know about Jim Morrison fans...
Also that.
The more I hate them. I'm like, ugh. It's like Rick and Morty fans. It's like, oh boy, I still like the show, but...
Yeah.
Why do you gotta be...
I mean, I don't know a lot of Doors fans anymore.
Yeah, it's true.
It's a little older generation.
Try insulting the Doors on the internet, and then you'll see.
You try insulting anything on the internet.
That's true.
They'll crawl right out of the woodwork.
For Nickelback.
Nope, there are people that like to play that devil's advocate, too.
I love the term devil's advocate.
Yeah.
Like, oh, so the devil.
Yeah. I'm a devil's advocate.
The guy needs a...
I would advocate for him.
Advocate?
Yeah, 100%.
The character of the devil, yes. But the concept of the devil, as in the worst person.
Right.
Like, so what you're saying is...
Debatably the worst person.
I mean, in concept.
Yes.
As we've discussed.
Right.
As we've discussed, I am a big fan of the devil in actual fact.
Mm-hmm.
If the mythology were real.
Right.
But as a concept, it's basically Hitler's advocate.
Yeah.
Like, oh, what you're saying is the worst thing you can think of.
Mm-hmm. Hitler's advocate's harder for me than the devil's advocate. That's so funny.
Yeah.
But you're right.
Like, so what you're saying is the worst thing you can think of needs somebody on his side.
Mm-hmm.
And it just happens to be just coincidence.
Well, it's like when the whole world's complaining about them. You're like, well, but, he's a really good leader.
The trains did run on time.
He was focused.
He wrote a bestseller. And he liked dogs.
He appreciated art.
Alright, so let's move on to what we're really doing, what we always do, because nothing's changing.
Nope.
Except that it will not exist anymore.
Right, nothing else is changing.
Let's describe this movie in one sentence.
Okay, I have something. A bunch of celebrities navigate their way through an apocalyptic hellscape with the power of improv and dick jokes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very improv heavy.
Yes. And successfully so.
Yeah. I wrote, everyone plays themselves, and we get to watch famous people die horribly, but on their own terms. So what's not to love?
It's great.
Because I wrote at first, we get to see everyone die horribly.
Yeah.
What's not to love? And I was like, that sounds...
Yes.
That sounds...
And have fun with it.
Right.
They have fun with it.
They want to die because it's a movie.
Right.
So...
Everyone's in on the joke.
Right. So... But yeah, honestly, this is first off, it's a great choice because we enjoy it.
It's literal, too.
It's literal. Mm-hmm. This is the end. And it's just fun, and it wasn't a pain in the ass to watch. Although it was a bit long.
I've seen it so many times.
Yeah, I forgot how long it was.
I watched it twice in the last 2 days, too.
Yeah?
Yeah. Guess what? I watched it with commentary, so I've got info.
All right, I'm going to need the info because I don't know any of this.
I figured you didn't.
I want all the info.
Okay, I have it written down in this notebook right here.
Okay. So let's just continue as we always do.
Mm-hmm.
Our movie opens up with Seth Rogen, playing Seth Rogen, being recognized in LAX. And he's here picking up his friend, Jay Baruchel, who I think a lot of people don't know. They know his voice, maybe.
I think people of our age would know him. He was in everything in the early 2000s.
Yeah, but he was never, like, the guy.
No.
You know, like, literally everyone else in this movie is more famous than him.
Yeah, and in the movies that he was the guy, he's annoying to me, so I don't like it.
He's got a affect, sort of like Michael Cera.
Yes.
Except
for his-
one in this movie is very different.
It's so funny. But the Jay Baruchel's voice I find really grating. And then also he's playing himself in this, and apparently according to even like Seth Rogen and the director who do the commentary for the DVD, this is very akin to who he actually is as a person, which he would just irritate the shit out of me. Just one of those anti-people. Just
Right.
hates everything.
Gotcha. All right, so Seth Rogen is hassled by a random person, who's
Which was actually played by the director.
Oh, is that the director?
Yeah, it's funny.
And
Anyway,
he
go
was
on.
being kind of an asshole because he was like, "Don't you always play the same character? When are you gonna branch out, do some other stuff?"
Yeah.
He's like, "Give me one of those Seth Rogen laughs." But then Seth Rogen does in fact go. He does have a laugh, but it made me think a little bit. This scene where Seth Rogen's derided for basically not doing a lot of acting and having this laugh that he has. It's like, man, being famous would suck a little bit.
Oh my god, it would suck a lot of it.
I mean,
I would never want to be recognized on the street.
it depends a lot on your personality, I'm sure. But
yeah,
I would hate it less than you, but I would
Yes.
still hate it.
hmm
But the money would be nice, so it's hard to.
I don't like being interrupted. Period. Ever.
Yeah,
Like,
it's true
People
when
I
you're doing
love,
something.
like people I love. Fuck off.
Yeah.
I'm reading.
So like going out in public and always being interrupted.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
No, and with the same thing over and over again. It's like working retail. Some would say.
Mm-hmm. Just punch everyone in the neck.
Yeah, just the same fucking thing over and over again.
But once they're in the car, Jay and Seth reveals that he's been on a cleanse, so he's not really, supposed to be eating Carl's Jr. I think that's where Jay wants to go.
It was gluten. It's gluten.
Yeah,
that
he's not eating gluten.
Right.
So you don't even know what gluten is. He goes, no, gluten it's a catch-all term for bad things.
Calories. That's gluten.
Fat, that's gluten. But of course, he's still drinking and smoking weed because he's on a cleanse. He's not psychotic.
Right.
But, also they have an argument about how many times a day you're supposed to shit. Seth says 6. And Jay says 2.
Yeah.
And both of those are a lot for me.
Yeah.
Those sound like a lot.
Yeah.
But eventually he's convinced to go Carl's Jr. after all. So he is apparently eating gluten, even though he still doesn't know what it is.
It's a classic Hollywood type. Constantly on a cleanse, not really doing anything.
Mm-hmm. And they basically hang out at Seth's house for a while. He shows him some of his fancy stuff. They get high and watch some 3D TV.
Yeah, this entire scene is improv because apparently up until the moment they started filming, it was supposed to be where Jay came over and he wasn't prepared for it at all. Like they had nothing to do or anything. They're like, it would be more fun if he was like super prepared. Yeah. And all that stuff was actually things that Jay Baruchel loved. Starburster's favorite, et cetera, et cetera.
That's funny.
Yeah, so.
And the J's made out of Jay.
Yeah, Seth Rogen did that.
J's.
Day of. The
Just
J's
rolled all those joints.
Rolled all the joints, spelled J.
Okay. And they have a little Backstreet Boys backing tune, which will be relevant later. But I also had a question for you. Who's your boy band of choice?
I've never liked boy bands.
Never?
So.
Not even like nostalgically?
Now, nostalgically, I'd say Backstreet Boys.
Yeah.
I guess. I know more of their music.
Right. That's more or less what it is for me, because obviously I wasn't the demo.
I was the demo, and all my friends they all had their favorites and blah, blah, blah.
I wasn't really the demo for it, but my sister was obsessed with the Backstreet Boys.
Yeah.
So I know a lot more about the Backstreet Boys than one would expect.
Yeah. I'm 2 degrees of separation away from Brian Luttrell's wife.
That's cool. I guess.
I mean, I think I mentioned it on here before. Like, how does this keep getting brought up?
Oh, yeah. Because he was in WoW Hits.
Oh, that's right. That's what it was.
But, yeah, although I want to say, I want to represent one other weirdo band. 5. You remember 5?
Yeah.
They made the worst songs. They were hilarious.
Ooh.
A couple of English kids trying to be hard.
I don't remember specifically,
band.
but speaking of, very similarly, you know the Summer Girls song? Summer girls come and summer girls go. Summer all right and summer so.
No.
It's the worst song.
I don't know this song.
LFO. Remember LFO?
I do remember LFO.
Okay, I'm playing you that song.
I thought it was going to be LFO because it sounded a lot like that other shit.
The girl on TV.
Yeah.
Yeah, because one of them actually dated Jennifer Love Hewitt.
Gross.
Yeah. But that is actually, bar none, my favorite boy band.
Okay.
Just because of the song Summer Girls,
Okay.
which I have memorized.
That
It
works.
has such amazing lines as Billy Shakespeare wrote a whole bunch of sonnets.
Wait, is that the LA Girls Who Wear Abercrombie & Fitch song?
Yes, it is.
Okay, yeah, then I know that song. I just know that one part.
Think of if I had one wish.
Yeah. The summer
for the summer. I like girls that... Oh, damn, that's going to be stuck in my head for the next week.
So we get a little sneak peek of the future, as the TV news tells us that there's a massive sinkhole in Guatemala. Mm-hmm. And Seth tries to invite Jay to go over to James Franco's house for his new housewarming. He built this house, and he wants to throw a party. And Jay does not particularly want to go, because he probably won't know anybody, he says. Mm-hmm. He says, James Franco doesn't even know my name. Me and Jonah Hill can't stand each other. Craig Robinson and him have never met. And that's basically the rest of our cast.
Yeah, and it's almost entirely true.
Yes.
Including the fact that he would never go to a party. He doesn't do Hollywood parties.
Oh, this is the commentary again?
Yes.
Do he and Jonah Hill not like each other?
They don't not like each other, but I think, actually, I'm not sure they had worked together before.
They were both in Knocked Up.
That's right. I can't remember. Yeah.
So we know each other at least a little bit. But they were the, 4 roommates that his character had. All right. But basically, they're just trying to introduce us to characters we're going to have to get used to. And he does eventually go to the party, of course. And James Franco immediately calls Jay by the wrong name. But he is trying, at least. Mm-hmm. James Franco, has made some art of him and Seth. Apparently they're, best friends. And he gets their names written down on some canvas. And Jay sort of, tries to dodge the fact that he doesn't really like it. And he's just like, I don't really like art. Which makes an extremely odd conversation happen. Yeah. Because...
You don't like art?
Yeah, because Franco just, he's like, you ever gone to Subway? Ordered a sandwich? Art. And so it's like, yeah, sandwich artist.
Yeah. Yep.
It's like, your mom's pussy? That's the canvas.
You are the art.
You are the art. It's like, oh, that's gross.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I guess we gotta talk about pussies.
He painted all those paintings in real life. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, all the ones that look like, that weren't actual famous artists.
Right. That sounds about right.
Yep.
And we also see Mindy Kaling having fun at the party. Mm-hmm. And we find out that she really wants to fuck Michael Cera real hard. Mm-hmm. Because in her words, he's pale, 110 pounds, coked out of his mind, hairless, and probably has a huge cock.
I love her.
Yeah. But Jay tries to warn her how bad an idea that is. Mm-hmm. And then we do catch up with Michael Cera doing some cool drugs. And he slaps Rihanna's ass. Who then slaps him in the face.
Actually, in real life, hit him that hard and fucked up his ear. She hits him hard. It is great.
But he apparently interprets this as foreplay, at least until the camera stops rolling, and he's like, ow, my fucking ear! This is why commentary is useful, see? Uh-huh. And, he's coked out of his mind, so who knows what he's really doing. I know on screen he shouts, somebody, tells him to stop slapping around his ass. He's like, fuck off, we're playing a game! So whatever, I don't know what's happening.
He's so good in this. This version of Michael Cera is hilarious.
Mm-hmm. And Jonah Hill catches up with our pair of pro tags. Mm-hmm. And he really does seem to be exactly as sweet and wonderful as Seth Rogen was telling us earlier. Mm-hmm. Because when Jay said they couldn't stand each other, he's like, what are you talking about? He's the nicest guy, in the world. And he tells a story about how he's just adopted an incontinent spaniel. And every time Jay tells a really bad joke, he's like, that's so fucking funny.
Weed is tight, man. Weed is tight.
Uh-huh. Yeah. He even, is, really lame, but tries to be cool in the way that's, endearing in a way.
I just love him so much.
Mm-hmm. And then Jay walks away because he doesn't want to, be around him. And you'd figure this would be when he leans into Seth and starts immediately talking shit. But he doesn't. Mm-hmm. He's just like, hey, I think we made some progress. Seems like we might be, I guess he knows he doesn't like him.
Right.
He's like, it looks like we might be making some work. So, this whole time, he's not been the bad dude at all.
Yeah.
Because, honestly, in any other movie...
Who, Jonah?
Yeah.
No, he's just... Or he's being, super saccharine and fake. Because that's also kind of what he's leaning into.
It is, but he also does... We'll get there. Mm-hmm. But it's just when he is not in a movie, right? Mm-hmm. Even if someone is being saccharine and fake for one person, typically they drop it when they're gone.
Right.
Or at least he's dedicated to this craft of bullshit. All right. So yeah, he even tells Seth, I know he feels threatened because you have new friends and you're very old friends. And so I just want him to be comfortable with the rest of us. And then Jay goes outside and he catches up with Craig Robinson and Emma Watson. Craig Robinson sings a little song.
Which is something he does at parties in real life. Mm-hmm. That song specifically.
Yeah. Yes. I was actually, this is going to come up later.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about the song in a little more detail.
Okay.
But first, Jay disparages the LA lifestyle. And so him and Emma Watson start calling him a hipster.
Because he is.
Because he is.
Yeah.
They say he has all the signs. He hates a lot of things. And his pants are awfully tight.
He hates things that are universally loved.
Right. Like, do you like Forrest Gump?
No,
And he's like,
I hate that movie.
It's a piece of shit movie. He's like,
And your pants get pretty tight there at the bottom.
And Michael Cera doses Christopher Mintz. Is it Plass or Plassy?
Mintz-Plasse.
Mintz-Plasse.
Yeah.
He blows cocaine into his face. It's really very, like you said, it's his best character because he's like, does this cocaine smell funny? And he like blows it into his face. So he's like, I haven't even ever done cocaine. He's like, well.
It's fun because it's like the three guys, the originals from Superbad. It's just Jonah, Michael, and Mintz-Plasse.
It is like, well, you've done it now and you got that good shit too. So it's just one of those. So we're basically supposed to understand that Michael Cera is, in real life, a tremendous asshole. Which is, if this is what he's like, then yeah.
I don't think so at all. I think this is real fun for him.
Right, I'm sure it is. And it's further solidified because Jay walks into the bathroom and he finds Michael Cera in there with two girls and no pants.
And a CG butt.
And there's one behind him and one in front. So that's interesting.
Yes.
And he's sipping on a juice box.
So funny. Making direct eye contact.
Yeah. He asks the girls if they want to sip. And then he stares at Jay.
The windbreaker was his call, by the way. And it really makes the character. It's his personal windbreaker.
But... yeah, there's the song where Craig Robinson is, take your panties off?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
And he gets real weird about it. And I'm going to come back to this song, so I want to acknowledge it now.
Okay.
But basically, if you haven't seen this movie, or apparently any movie with Craig Robinson in it, he, sings a song basically about taking your panties off. He says, girl, take your panties off.
Take your panties off. Yeah.
And he calls out Rihanna.
Yeah. And she sings back.
Uh-huh.
Which she did improv.
Oh.
Yeah.
See, she's
They
good.
did it. They're like, we didn't want to ask her. We want to, like...
See what would happen.
Right. We were just like, we didn't want to, like, make it seem like we only had her on because she was a singer. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, she's like, she just did that on her own. We were so happy.
But, Jay wants to go to the convenience store because he wants to buy some cigarettes. So Seth joins him and they're heading over to a convenience store. And, they argue a little bit about the party because Jay claims that Seth abandoned him even though he was the one that left. Because he left because Jonah was around. Right. He's like, then you ditched me. He's like, I didn't ditch you. You left.
Yeah, he's the worst.
Because Jonah was, in Jay's words, being a prick. Mm-hmm. But as we have discussed and we saw, he was not. Even if he was being fake and saccharine. Right. He wasn't being a prick. No. He was being perhaps overly polite.
Overly friendly. Right. Yeah.
But that's not the same thing.
No.
So what we're supposed to understand, I don't know if technically we're supposed to, but Jay's the bad guy of this movie. We definitely agree on that. Right. The villain of this film.
The movie does not agree, but that's fine.
The villain of this film is Jay Baruchel. At least at first, maybe.
I think the villain of the film is Michael Cera.
That's fair. That's fair too. But no, okay. To be fair,
yeah.
In the movie, he's even portrayed as a lovable, ridiculous person. Like Mindy Kaling wants to fuck him. James Franco thinks he's really funny. Everyone's amused by him except the one guy he dosed with cocaine.
Well, that and also nobody needs to put their hands on Riri's butt.
Yeah,
unless she consents.
Right. You got to ask her to slap
but at
that
least
butt.
He got punched in the fucking face for it.
Mm-hmm. In real life, apparently.
In real life.
That's what you get for writing jokes. And so at the convenience store, an earthquake hits and knocks everyone over. But several people in the store are caught in beams of light and they're sucked into the sky, but not our two main characters. And then an air conditioner falls through the roof and smashes the shopkeep in a bloody mess.
Explosion of blood.
And
love comical violence.
And they go outside to see that hundreds or maybe hundreds of other people are sucked into the same sky and the same light. So if it wasn't obvious, it's totally the Rapture.
Yeah.
And right away, if you're at all familiar, like, oh, that's the Rapture. Well, or aliens.
I was going to say, when I first saw it, I'm like, is it an alien thing?
Yeah.
Because they're blue. It's like weird blue light and they're like people like convulsing in it.
Mm-hmm. But it's a good, those are basically the only two options.
Yeah.
Like aliens rapture.
Definitely.
It's like
Or LSD.
You never know.
They were doing drugs. The party was full of drugs.
And we're going to find that out especially. Mm-hmm. But because it's not some normal, boring-ass Christian movie, when the rapture happens, we get to see the true carnage that would follow such an event. Because, like, Left Behind tries, but it's like, planes fell out of the sky and cars have crashed. Like, no, people fucking die.
Yeah.
Like, a car crashes into several people who explode.
Right. Will drop like flies.
Yeah.
And go straight to hell.
That's true. So it's very gruesome in a way that most movies that deal with the rapture don't allow themselves to really experience.
Right.
So that's always fun. This is the benefit of doing a sort of a secular religious movie. Mm-hmm. This is great. Let's see. What happens next? They run back to James Franco's house to find everyone there completely unaffected. No one's noticed a thing. Because Franco built it, in his words, to be a fucking fortress. Mm-hmm. And, of course, no one here is going to be raptured.
Right, because they're actors.
Yeah, they're all actors. They're horrible people. So Jay tries to explain the situation, but no one is taking him seriously, except the angel, Jonah Hill. Mm-hmm. And when Franco asks Seth if it's true, Seth pretends to not have seen anything, which is a pretty obvious betrayal of one of his oldest friends.
Yes.
Because he apparently has no spine. So when everyone else is like, that sounds ridiculous.
Yeah, like
Jay's like, he was with me. He saw it. You saw it, right? And he's like, no. He's like, what the fuck?
Fucker.
Yeah. Which is, to be fair, real dick move.
It is a real dick move.
Like, you don't even have to stick by your friends. Just stick by the truth.
Right. Yeah.
Didn't even do that. But just as this conversation sort of winds its course, the earthquake is finally felt by everyone here, and then they run outside because they're worried, which is pretty sure the opposite of what you do in an earthquake.
Yes.
You don't run outside, right?
Pretty sure no. Especially when you're in, like, the thing is a fortress.
It is. Like, even if it shakes a little bit.
Are you supposed to just, like, get in a doorway or something?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
But then I've seen a lot of movies where people run outside. I don't know.
Well, that's just because it's more interesting thematically, or cinematically.
That's true.
Cinematically?
Yeah.
That is a word, but in my head just now, like, what?
What's this word? But we realize that LA is completely on fire because they go out and they see the Hollywood Hills or whatever.
Right.
And it's just ablaze. And everyone freaks out, of course. But Michael Cera interrupts everyone freaking out to question loudly the crowd because his cell phone's missing. And he's like, I can't find my fucking phone. It's not cool. And while he's yelling at everyone, a telephone pole falls and impales him through the chest.
Yes.
And then it rises back to its old position and it's lifted him into the air, still connected to it. And he also finds his cell phone in his pocket. And so his last words are, oh, that's embarrassing. Because now a sinkhole opens up and the telephone pole is sucked into it alongside him and alongside many other famous celebrities, including Rihanna.
Yep.
So let's see. Rihanna dies. Who else dies? Really?
Everyone.
Jason Segel dies.
Jason Segel dies. Aziz Ansari.
Right, because Craig Robinson abandons Aziz Ansari into the sinkhole, and Paul Rudd accidentally crushes a woman's skull trying to run away.
Yeah.
Kevin Hart, Martin Starr, and David Krumholtz all die.
Yeah.
The latter of whom, was almost saved by Jay because they were both stuck in the hole.
Right.
But as he tries to swing over to get out of the sinkhole, he falls into the earth.
Right.
But Jay manages to crawl out after that failed rescue attempt.
Despite no upper body strength.
Yeah. But he manages to get inside the house and join his friends and enemies. Mm-hmm. His one friend and all enemies. And as stated earlier in the movie, because like we said,
that motherfucker.
This tiny, tiny penised man.
Yep.
Also, you know what's weird about him? He's always going somewhere. He just apparently drives back and forth all day. Mm-hmm. Like, that car's never
Maybe he's
here
a
for more than...
drug delivery man.
Probably. Like, he's never in here for like more than 2 hours. Like,
It's so bizarre.
Like, even at the middle of the night. It's like, where are you going in the middle of the night?
Huh.
Yeah, you're probably right. Drug delivery, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Fancy car for some asshole who lives here.
Yeah.
You're right. As stated earlier in the movie, because they were warming us up for the cast, the only people left in the house are Seth Rogen, Jay Baruchel, Jonah Hill, James Franco, and Craig Robinson. Mm-hmm. And they also learn that some bad shit is happening in the outside world. And Jay still wants to go back to Seth's place because, in his words, he doesn't want to die at James Franco's house. And James Franco, like, makes that face like, what the fuck did I do? What's wrong with dying at my house? But what he's neglecting is that when bad shit goes down, what Jay is neglecting is that when bad shit goes down, famous people are always rescued first. So he's smart to stay with the group, especially because Jonah Hill is here. He's an Academy Award nominee, if not winner.
Did he win?
He might have won.
I think he's a nominee.
So
he's a nominee.
Yeah, so they're going to save him first, and the others can come along if there's space in the helicopter or whatever. That was Jonah saying that.
Yeah, I love that.
Right. So he's not, entirely angelic. He still has a little bit of...
Well, he was raptured, so we know he's not.
That's right. That's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
And so they do hear a helicopter, and they first take heart that they're going to be rescued, but instead it crashes into the yard and explodes and throws a propeller through the wall.
Yes.
And Craig Robinson gets a very light cut on his finger. He goes, "Look what your house did to me." And Frank goes like, "That wasn't me. It wasn't my house." It's very stupid. This movie's very dumb. I like it.
I love it.
And of course, Craig is devastated that his finger's been slightly wounded.
Yeah.
And so the boys set up the house for survival and they take stock. And they have basically nothing.
Right. But they do that fun, Wes Anderson style, naming everything that they have in quantity.
They have mostly drugs and booze, a little water, a hilariously minor amount of food, a baseball bat, a revolver, a Milky Way, and the video camera from the movie 27 Hours.
Which is the actual video camera from 127 Hours. All the props that they claim are from Franco movies that he collects are real and he has them.
That's funny.
And we see them.
And my joke was, in the movie he says 27 hours, but then Franco says 127 hours.
Right.
And so he makes a specific note in his
127 hours. Okay.
And, of course, this devolves into playing with the gun.
Yes.
Because it's a working revolver.
This is my first laugh out loud. It's Jonah playing with this gun.
I have a gun.
Just pretending to shoot himself in the head.
Yeah.
Flopping it around.
But, you don't want me to play? Maybe I'll just kill myself. Yeah, it was a really obnoxious thing to do.
It's so funny.
And, of course, they fight over the Milky Way because they do have a little food, but there's a candy bar.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's
no one here is thin except for Jay, but he only eats candy, so...
Like in real life?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Well, I mean, he eats a shit ton of candy. Apparently, he drinks 20 Cokes a day.
Jesus.
Yeah.
How?
Look at him. He's one of those skinny fat people.
But still, he's 30.
30-something, and he's Canadian, super Canadian.
How does he do that? I would feel terrible all the time.
He probably does. It's probably why he hates everything so much.
Mm-hmm. But at night... The boys try to sleep to varying degrees of success because they can hear basically violence and people dying outside all around them. Mm-hmm. And Jay is approached by an initially scary-looking person, but it's just Seth wrapped up in a blanket because he just wants to sleep with Jay because he's scared by himself.
I love when male friendship is shown like this. Mm-hmm. This is one of my favorite things about this movie, and actually all of this group's movies. Mm-hmm. They're open with the love of their friends.
Yeah, it is better that way.
Yeah.
And he asks if Jay is mad at him. And Jay points out that if he was mad, it would be because he didn't want to come here at all. And now he's locked inside a house with people he hates. Mm-hmm. And Seth proposes that maybe this entire horrible event has happened to bring them all closer. It's just hey, maybe all this crap has happened because it's we're supposed to be friends. We're supposed to be get along.
Seth's obsessed with Jay being friends with his friends.
He really is.
Yeah.
But that's not bad.
I mean, it is a little bit because he lives in Canada, so it's not like they all hang out and see each other all the time, and Jay's the only one who doesn't want to hang out with people. He's visiting from Canada.
That's true.
For a week.
But what I would say, in his defense, is they mentioned this a couple times in the movie where Seth has a new life because he's a little more successful.
He's trying to integrate him, yeah.
And he's got these new friends and a new life, and Jay is part of his old life.
Right.
And so, he wants to integrate the old with the new instead of just having to choose.
Right. I love keeping my friends separate.
That's fair.
I love it.
So, in his defense, I think he just wants the two parts to, be a thing that can work. And I get that.
Yeah.
But Jay is able to identify what really is happening. It's Judgment Day. And they have to clarify the biblical one, not the Skynet one. But they are eventually interrupted by Craig Robinson, who's also scared to sleep alone. And then Jonah follows, and so now we have 4 of our 5 boys just huddled up trying to sleep through a pretty traumatizing night.
And it is precious.
It is so cute.
Real cute.
And in the morning we get a glimpse of the outside, and basically it's insane. The world is covered in a thick dust like the meteor has finally hit. The meteor we've been promised our whole lives.
Yeah. It actually probably looks not dissimilar from how California looked not long ago. Just on fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the house is constantly bombarded by debris of some sort. And the first person awake in the house is not any of the 5 boys that we all know. It's Danny McBride, who uses their bottled water on his feet and hands and uses all their food to make a full feast for breakfast.
Doesn't he walk in on like is it Cypress Hill? Is that
there's some like rap song playing out?
I think it was Cypress Hill. It's perfect. You just see him like slow-mo, like dancing down the hall and just like cooking everything and all of their supplies. Danny McBride is a treasure.
It's hard to tell if he so far, if he is doing it on purpose because he's just breaking into someone's home.
It is hard to tell right now.
Unaware that something's happening.
Right.
We will find out that he's unaware.
Yeah.
But obviously, James Franco wakes up and he notices that he's used all their food. And he wakes everyone up and they yell at Danny to stop eating because he's apparently unaware of what's going on because he passed out in the bathtub at the party.
That he wasn't invited to.
That he was never invited to. So he was not aware of the previous night's rapture, and he doesn't believe them when they try to explain it to him. He thinks they're all just acting, especially Jonah, Academy Award nominated. And he's like, oh, you're doing your serious voice, Jonah? Is that what you're doing? You're fucking doing your serious voice right now? How about try a little harder?
And then Jonah does, and it's like, oh yeah, you are a good actor. That's me reacting that way. I'm like, fuck, Jonah. You're so talented.
Yeah.
Speaking of, this is related but not related. On the way here, I was listening to the Beanie Feldstein was on Dex Shepard's.
Love her.
Yeah, me too. She was on Dex Shepard's podcast. It's a really good interview. You should listen to it.
I've heard that. I've heard some of those episodes. I liked him.
Yeah, I like him a lot too. He's another of those people who's just like open with his emotions and his experiences and his failures, and I just like people like that. Yeah, no, anyway, that's all. Check it out.
Yeah, I do love her. She's making a 20-year movie? Did you hear this?
What, you mean like fucking Boyhood?
It's the same guy.
Amazing.
With Beanie and some guy I've never heard of. I don't know his name.
Anyway, whatever.
Even if you say it, I won't know. But
she has another movie coming out soon.
So Beanie's doing it. Yeah, she's great. But my point is, she's going to be in a 20-year movie soon. Or in 20 years.
Maybe I'll be alive. That'd be cool.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see.
Impossible to say.
But while they're arguing about whether something's happening outside and Danny's disbelieving of everything, a guy tries to break into the house. And Franco almost shoots him before he asks the others if they should let this guy in. Because he's like, there's crazy shit out here and I don't want to be out here anymore. Yeah.
He's a notable person too, but he's like a character actor.
Yeah, he's like the Sonic commercial guy, right?
I think so. And he's also he's in Veep.
Yeah.
Sometimes, yeah.
You
recognize his face immediately.
I did right away.
And you're like one of those, I'm like, I can't place you, but I know you.
Right. But Franco doesn't want to let him in because they don't know the guy. And the group is ultimately divided. He throws it to Seth to be the breaking the tiebreaker. But when they start to vote, as soon as he sort of has to decide, something attacks this man and his head is thrown inside the kitchen. Where it's kicked and it's slipped on, it's soccered about a little bit.
I love it so much.
Danny McBride realizes that this is a real event. This man has just been decapitated in front of him.
They're all just screaming, like girls are kicking the head around, and it is just...
There's blood everywhere because it's his head, obviously, and it's shooting blood off of it.
I'm sick. I'm a sick human.
They eventually look outside to see if they can find the horrible beast that killed this man, but they find nothing.
They also finally dispose of the head by throwing a towel over it and pushing it away with a coat hanger. Yeah. It makes me so happy.
I'm going to give you a little credit, though, okay?
Me?
I don't think you're sick.
Okay.
Because finding violence funny... Finding violence funny is very normal.
Yeah, funny violence is funny. Not all violence is funny. Right. I don't
think you'd react this way if you saw an actual decapitation.
No, I would. I'm very curious what I would do because I feel like my natural instinct is go towards problems like that and like try to. You
got white girl scary movie syndrome.
I know. I 100% do. I will investigate that strange sound till I get murdered.
Yeah, no, I have a cautious version of that.
Like I just want to help always. I'm like, oh, that motherfucker just cut off that person's head. Get him! Like that's who I am.
Like literally in the last week, I was in the shower. It was at night, and I swear I saw something move like outside the. So I pulled the curtain back, and I was like, I looked around real careful. I didn't see anything. But I kept the curtain open.
Yep. You know what sucks about that for me? When I'm in the shower, it's not only just because of, nakedness, but it's the most vulnerable I could be because I'm also blind. Completely blind.
Yeah.
And also, naked.
You don't want to be blind and naked? Does it sound like you're part of a good time?
No, not at all. No, not when I think I might be murdered. I saw a shadow from the shower one day. I'm like, well, this is it.
I'm gonna die now.
And like the room was dark on the other side. Like I opened it up and like the room's dark. I'm like, well, it could be anything. There could be literally anything in there, and I could be staring a like murderer in the eyeballs and not even know it. It's like you could be anybody. Please leave. Please leave. Show yourself out. Thank you.
So the next scene in the movie is Franco using the camera from 27 Hours, the movie, of course.
127 hours, Josh.
Yeah, I keep doing it.
I'm going to keep correcting you because that's also funny.
But he's filming a video confessional, and he talks about how he doesn't even really like Danny McBride, especially recently because they've just not been getting along. Mm-hmm. And he wasn't even invited to the party that he showed up at and fell asleep in the bathtub. But Danny happens to be passing by, and so he heard all of it. And so there's mounting tension between those two. And at the dinner table, with very little food, Jay tries to convince the guys that this is, in fact, the biblical apocalypse. Mm-hmm. He reads some scripture at us that coincides with some of the events they're witnessing.
Yeah. Did they ever explain where that Bible came from? Because I don't feel
it was James Franco's Bible. He literally says, "You took my Bible."
Yeah, but it doesn't seem like something. I'm like, I expected it to be like a prop from a movie again. That was a failed.
I think he just has a Bible.
Whatever. Okay.
He's one of those guys who's like went to NYU while working as a full-time actor.
Yeah, he studied everything. He's like,
so he probably owns a Bible.
He works hard to be a man of all trades.
Right. Is he bad now?
I don't think so.
Did I hear that?
I don't know. I keep hearing conflicting accounts on whether people like him or don't like him for any specific reason.
Okay.
I haven't heard anything about him like super Me Too movement failing.
Right.
But
I could be wrong.
He does give me weird vibes.
Yeah. Okay.
I think some people are mad because they think he like bought some of his degrees, which may or may not have been proved. Like he just like wants to look smart.
Yeah, that's fine.
I don't care.
Yeah, that's not significant to me.
No, I just buy all the degrees you want. Buy me one. That'd be great.
Right. All right, but he reads some scripture at some of the events that are happening, but Franco doesn't believe that any of that's true, because if it were, everyone here must be a bunch of assholes. And especially for Jay, that doesn't make sense, because you know what that means, Jay? You're an asshole too, like the rest of us. Because, of course, the good people were raptured off.
Right.
And Craig Robinson especially is like, what are you talking about? I'm lovable. I would have been raptured. Like, people love me. But none of them were. So, like he says, they all must be trash, and Jay must be too. Mm-hmm. So it can't be true, because they know they're great.
Yeah.
And now we get the obligatory drug montage, where they do all the rest of the drugs that they had from the party.
Yes. Which was a lot.
It was a bunch
baggie
of Molly.
Full of mushrooms, baggie full of Molly, lots of weed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we get,
nothing too hard, though. They didn't even have cocaine left over.
I know.
So that's actually a really good time. They had baggies full of good time. I've done all that shit.
But we get Gangnam Style, so a little throwback to the era.
Yeah.
Or the song choice here. And then Seth and
They
Franco.
apparently, by the way, they tried that scene with a lot of different music because they didn't want to use Gangnam Style.
Yeah.
But the test audience only liked Gangnam Style, so they put it in there. Fuck everybody from that time period.
I mean, it's still a fun song.
I hated it.
And then Seth and Franco film their proposed Pineapple Express sequel.
My favorite thing.
On the video camera. And we watch it just as the guys do. And it's just, what is it about? Danny McBride's character becomes a drug lord.
Yeah, his name's Red. He's a drug lord.
And so he makes them try to assassinate Woody Harrelson.
Played by Jonah Hill in this sequence.
Played by Jonah Hill here. So that they can...
because he got marijuana legalized,
Yeah.
which takes money away from the drug pens, obviously.
Right.
Which is and that's their actual, that was their actual pitch for
I did know that,
Pineapple. Yeah, which, I mean, it's I would watch the fuck out of that. Mm-hmm. Did you like Pineapple Express?
I loved it.
It's great.
Yeah. And they even do a stupid joke on the BFFF. Fucking Friends Forever.
Oh, that's
BFFFFFFF. Forever.
Forever.
But yeah, it's a cute little sort of home movie that they make. It's similar to Lethal Weapon 5 from Always Sunny.
Yes, exactly. Or like, have you ever seen the movie Be Kind, Rewind? It's Mos Def and Jack Black and Danny Glover. It's so good. Oh my god, I'll bring that over sometime.
Oh wait, yes.
Yeah, remember that?
From back in the day.
Right, it's like somebody brought a magnet into a VHS tape store and they ruined all the movies, so they like recreated them like with the town. It's one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, it's a really cute movie.
Yeah, was that Michelle Gondry?
I don't know.
I think so. I don't even have to worry about correction or omitting that. Yeah. It is Michelle Gondry, and I'm not going to check it. Go on.
But they're talking about how they should, do some other sequels, what to make next, because we're just here fucking around. Like, what are we going to do? And Emma Watson breaks into their house with an axe while they're talking about this.
With my favorite. I love her haircut like that.
Oh, yeah.
She's so cute.
She talks about the outside world, and when asked by Jay if it seems apocalyptic-ish, she claims to know exactly what's really happening. It's not the apocalypse, it's a zombie invasion. Because she says she was hidden in a drain pipe for several days, and she heard people, then she just heard groaning.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. That's what groaning is.
Yeah. So she just wants to sleep, and so she heads upstairs to take a nap, and the guys discuss how to deal with the addition of a seventh person. And at first...
Female.
Well, at first they're talking mechanics of food and the like.
Right.
And they're just like, she's like half of a person because she's so small.
Right.
It's like she should do like a half of a seventh.
Right. So we're like 7.5 now. Yeah.
Right. But when everyone else is talking about the mechanics, Jay wants to address what he calls the elephant in the room, the thing that's on all their minds.
Yeah.
It's one girl in a house with 6 males. And he wants to make sure that she feels safe and comfortable. And the other guys are like, yeah, she should feel perfectly safe. There's 6 of us.
Yeah, exactly. She should feel the most safe.
But Danny McBride is the only one to realize what he's really saying, is they don't want to give off any rapey vibes. And so, having brought this up, everyone starts very loudly talking about rapey vibes, and who would be a rapist if any of them were.
Jay couldn't rape a fly, is my favorite line from this. Thank you, Jonah Hill.
Yeah, everyone says it's either Danny McBride or Jay who would be the rapist.
He's also whoever smelled the Delta. He's the one who brought up the rape in the first place.
And now, that's Franco's argument. He's
yeah.
like, you smelt it, Delta. Who denies it, supplies it.
He's like, yes, farts, I get it.
But...
You want to know the real story to that scene, too?
Absolutely.
The only reason that scene exists is because... test audience and also them, like, early on thought, like, we should probably have a female survivor with them too, just, for some sort of, like, semblance of fairness. But they're like, we couldn't figure out how to get around the rape vibe. Like, that was their whole, like, thing. So they went, one of the producers, who was a female, they were talking to her about it, because she had mentioned too, she's like, why aren't there any women? Like, can we not have, like, a girl or blah, blah, blah? And they told her that. She's like, so just, like, lean into it. Lean into the rapey thing. And they're like, what? And they're like, yeah, just make it a joke. And we're like, okay.
That's funny.
And it worked out.
It was really the best part of the movie.
Yeah. If they weren't such lovable actual men, then it would be very uncomfortable. But in the meantime, go on.
But Emma overhears them talking about the rapey vibes and doesn't obviously know how to interpret that. So she grabs her axe and confronts all 6 of them because she'll fuck them up. And she's like, I'm not letting any of you rape me. They're like, no, we were talking about not raping you. So she breaks Seth Rogen's nose by hitting him with the back of the axe.
Yeah. He's wearing breakaway glasses there.
Yeah, because he's trying to, she's like, I'm listening to you guys talk about which one of you is going to rape me. He's like, oh, let me clear this up.
Yeah.
We're talking about not, and so she breaks it.
Remember, they were just on drugs. Like, she entered the house when they were high as fucking kites.
Yeah, that's true. But she basically steals their supplies for safety, and then she breaks back out of the house. And now the boys are left without any food or water or any other drinks, basically. I don't think she took food, but she took all the water.
She took, like, everything.
Yeah. And, of course, all the guys blame Jay for not entirely unfair reasons. He is the one who brought it up.
Yep.
And now they have to decide who has to go outside to get some jugs of water that are in the basement, which is, like, around the house. You have to go to the cellar.
Yeah.
And it's scary out there. So they have to do it by roulette, and Craig is the one that's chosen to go outside. Mm-hmm. So they attach a rope to Craig, and they develop a plan to pull him back if he screams at all. Mm-hmm. They even do a little test run. And when he gets out there, he sees something, and he makes a run for it. And the rope eventually gets away from the guys inside.
Of course.
Because he's running away from some creature. But he does eventually make it back, so he doesn't die here. And they realize that they can dig through the floor to get the water from the basement, because he did fail. He was running from something. And Craig asks Jay, in a separate scene, if he really thinks it's the apocalypse. Because he did saw something weird out there. He doesn't say what it was, but something definitely weird. Mm-hmm. And it might be biblical weird. But Jay says that he has a plan. The worthy, he's been reading, will ascend into heaven, so they just have to prove that they're worthy. So they're going to get through this together, he says, him and Craig. They just have to do it together. They can get through it as a team. Danny McBride is spying around and he overhears part of this, and so he's apparently very suspicious. He whispers to himself, I hear everything.
I fucking love Danny McBride. I love him anyway. He's just a treasure in this movie. Every time you see him lurking somewhere, every time you look at Danny McBride, his face is funny.
So Seth and Jay kind of make up while they dig through the floor, because everyone's trying to get through the floor now. It's like concrete reinforced, so it's a lot of work.
Right.
But they eventually manage to crash into the basement and find the water. So now it's a celebration, but they still have to be careful, because it is only so much water, and they still don't have any real food.
Right.
But at dinner, Danny gets another glass of water, and everyone starts shouting, because, they agree to an allotted amount.
Right, they're rationing.
Right.
And they're drinking out of martini glasses, which is fun.
Right. And they start shouting, and Danny starts shouting about how the rules are dumb, and they should split supplies by their proportionate size. Because Jay is the smallest, Craig is the largest.
Right.
And he's not entirely opposed, but he's just like, we should just do it by 6, because that's the way. But out of spite, Danny turns the whole jug over, and he spills most of it on the floor and on his head. And Franco puts the gun in his face and threatens to shoot him. He doesn't do it, though. Even though Danny tells him to.
Yeah.
Like,
oh my god.
Bitch.
He grabs it and puts it in his mouth. He's like, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Nerd.
But when he eventually falls asleep, Franco tries to convince the group to go ahead and get rid of Danny, because he's ruining everything. And apparently it's pretty successful, because they wake him up, and they basically vote him off the island, in his words. And he agrees to leave, and as a last-minute gesture, Franco gives him the revolver which he's been carrying around with him, like a security blanket.
In every single scene, he holds it the entire time. It's kind of impressive as an actor to keep that consistency.
But Danny has this gun now. He's like, I really appreciate this gesture that you've made for me. You stupid motherfucker. And he tries to shoot everyone in the room. But Franco had loaded it with blanks. So Danny instead doubles down. He insults everyone with varying degrees of truthfulness to sort of double down on his bad personhood. But he especially calls out Jay, because he saw him in L.A. 2 months ago, and he was specifically avoiding hanging out with Seth. And he also says he only pretends to give a shit about him because he thinks that's what God wants him to do. And Jonah says that he's really let down by Jay being dishonest with his friends. And so Jay punches Jonah Hill in the face.
Yes.
And so at that night, after Danny McBride leaves, after having tried to kill everybody, which was very funny, especially because he was like, you put blanks in the gun, you asshole.
Like, you were going to send me out into the apocalypse with no bullets. I was like, you literally just tried to kill all of us.
Like, no.
You were about to waste the few bullets that you thought you had, murdering your friends. Yeah, it's perfect.
But that night, Jonah is praying to God. And he confesses finally.
No, but how does he introduce himself? Do you remember?
What does he say?
He goes...
Oh, he says, hey God, it's Jonah from Moneyball.
Yeah.
From Moneyball. But he confesses finally to just hating Jay so much. I think he may be the worst person you've ever made. And so he asks God to kill Jay to save Seth from his weird, shitty Canadian life. And so while he's praying, his light flickers just a little bit in a sense of ominousness. And as everyone is asleep, something sneaks into Jonah's bed while growling. And we don't ever get a full view, but it's very obviously a demon with a gigantic penis.
Yes.
And he's here for Jonah's bod in some way.
Yes.
There's just a dick out.
We get a pretty full view, still kind of in darkness.
But it's yeah.
Which they put in the movie, apparently. They did, I think, the South Park thing where it was like in Team America, like the sex scene was like so out of control just because they knew that the censors were like, you can't do that, so they tap it back just to where they actually wanted it. But the censors here actually let them keep the worst one in. They're like, we made like the biggest, veiniest, most realistic dick and thought, oh, they're just going to make us like tone it down. They didn't do anything, so we just kept it in. It's rad. Yeah,
that's cool. But we don't know exactly what happens. But the next scene is him in the confessional booth they've made. With
my favorite. Yeah.
The video camera from 27 Hours. where he admits that something not chill happened last night.
So good.
It was not chill. And so the guys have to make another supply run. And this time Seth draws the unlucky match. Because they light a match and then do matches. And he refuses to go and challenges Mr. Self-Righteous Jay to do it instead. And Jay does agree because he says he has a thing called honor. And Craig Robinson agrees to go with him because he's done it once before and he needs the help. He says, what does he say? Your arms are tiny and you can't carry.
Yeah, he wouldn't be able to carry half as much as they needed.
Yeah. And Jonah is very happy because it seems like his prayer that Jay will die is working. Because if he goes outside, he might die. And he's like, oh my God, it's working.
But he's also getting, like, he's also a good one to watch on the sidelines because he is acting full on as the guy who just got raped by a demon and hasn't talked to anybody about it. And he's just a little, fidgety. And like in the background while they're all arguing over who's going to go out there, like he lifts up his sleeve and like the scratches are there. So it's like, it's all real. That, yeah, it's just so funny.
And I just think it's funny because in this movie, he's like maybe insincere, but he also seems pretty sincere. Yeah. Like even when he wishes for Jay to die,
right,
by praying, he's like, I just think he really sucks. And like,
he's really sweet. Like
he's sweet about wishing the death of another man. Yeah, that's what I mean.
Ugh.
So it's just funny because he's just.
I would date Jonah Hill.
Yeah,
without question.
All right, I'm gonna call him another guy.
Sweet.
Let's see.
I'll hook you up with Beanie.
So Jay and Craig eventually make it to another house where they're gonna get supplies. While at the other house, Jonah appears to have a low blood sugar episode because he had mentioned earlier that he wants the Milky Way because of the low blood sugar.
I have low blood sugar.
So they
offer him one scoop of Nutella every time his blood sugar acts up. He's like, that is fair.
That is fair.
Yeah.
But in Franco's house, Seth and Franco try to baby bird him some Milky Way so that he can, get back and not have the seizure he's having. Mm-hmm. But then Jonah wakes up and starts to speak Latin in a demonic voice, and he threatens them with the end of days. And his eyes glow yellow, and he passes all the way out. Mm-hmm. And at the new house where they're raiding, Jay tries to convince Craig not to go back and instead stay in this other house. But Craig tells him that these people are his friends.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jay's the worst.
He really is. He's like, hey, we don't have to go back. Like, we can just stay here.
Yeah, we start a new life together.
He's like, I'll be so good to you. Mm-hmm. Like, he's literally, like, trying to convince him to date him. But Jay doesn't think they're his friends at all. Even he and Seth have been growing apart recently, he says. But Craig tells him that they're all what any of them have got left. And before this is fully resolved, a demon jumps through a window and attacks them, while Jonah wakes up and he pukes on Seth and Franco before scuttling away and disappearing. So now we get the sort of action scene where the two guys are running from a demon dog-looking thing.
Mm-hmm. CG's rad.
Yeah, giant though.
Yeah.
And Jonah attacks Franco and Seth because he's possessed or whatever. But Jay and Craig eventually escape the demon and return to Franco's house just in time to see Jonah attacking, but Jay knocks him out with the bat that he was carrying. And as they are figuring out what to do with Jonah's possessed self, they all confess to some bad shit that they've done before we move on to the exorcism of Jonah Hill. Mm-hmm. And I don't remember exactly what all the bad shit was, but some of it was varying degrees of awful.
Yeah, I actually don't remember.
Franco says he had sex with Lindsay Lohan when she was all high and fucked up.
Yeah.
Craig Robinson says... I
wonder if that's true. It could be true.
It might be true. Who knows? But they all have, like, secret shames.
Right.
But the exorcism of Jonah Hill doesn't go terribly well. Mostly because Jay just repeats lines from The Exorcist with no real context for how they work.
Right.
And when it appears to finally start working, eventually, which is actually one of my favorite parts because possessed Jonah is like, okay, it's starting to work. Seriously, it's a pain in the ass. Stop it.
It stings.
Yeah, he's like, it stings a little bit. Stop it.
I feel like his style of demon is just sarcastic. And a little dickish.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, the power of Christ compels me. Does it, Jay?
But then he's like, oh, it's annoying. I hate it. But it finally starts to work, and Seth pushes Jay off the bed and makes him stop because he seems to be hurting Jonah. Mm-hmm. And so they fight, and eventually, like, becomes a physical fight, and they knock over a candle, which sets the bed on fire. So Jonah gets lit on fire, and he's freed from the bed, where everyone else realizes the house is on fire, and so he chases after them, and the whole house goes up, basically. So we watch Jonah Hill burn up, and the boys are now stuck outside, because... basically, the house is done. This is a way to get them out of the house. Mm-hmm. And Franco still has his Prius, which they're going to use now to try to drive away somewhere safe. But just as they're getting over there, a winged demon blocks their path. And it's very scary. Mm-hmm. It's very large. And it's very...
well designed.
Well designed. It's a pretty cool looking demon.
I think it is.
But Craig decides that he's going to go ahead and distract it to give the rest of them time to get to the car, even though he knows he's going to die. He says he's been shitty his whole life, and he thinks it's finally time he does something for someone else. Mm-hmm. So he yells at it, and he distracts it. He creates a distraction. He leads the demon away while he taunts it. And as he runs toward it to be killed, a beam of light engulfs him, and he swoops up to heaven just like he's earned. And so Jay's theory about proving their worth to get to heaven is proven true.
You know the choir singing in the background when the light comes down? Like, it's like, oh,
yeah.
And there's like a choir singing. They're singing, Take Your Panties Off.
Oh, that's stupid.
I would never have known that.
Yeah. But, of course, it's great because now they've proved that the remaining three, Seth, Franco, and Jay, could all theoretically do the same thing. Mm-hmm. So if you do the right thing, you might be able to get to heaven. Mm-hmm. So now they're being overly nice to each other in the car, giving each other really great compliments because they're hoping to get into heaven. But obviously, that doesn't work. Like, I think Franco starts. He's the one. He's like, "Man, Seth, you're just like the coolest fucking guy I've ever met in the world. You're good looking. Yeah. You're talented and you're sexy." And then eventually it's like, they like look at this guy like, "Is it happening?" It's like, no, it's not.
Yeah, they don't get it.
But on their way to Franco's Malibu house, that's where they're headed. They get hit by another car, or rather like a huge bus or something, and are ambushed by all the occupants. And we find out that Danny McBride is in charge of this group. Mm-hmm. And so he comes out to reveal that they're all cannibals now. Yeah. And they're feeling hungry. So he also has a gimp who is Channing Tatum.
Channing Tatum, for real. Mm-hmm. And it's always Channing Tatum, even though he has like this like Mexican wrestling mask on the whole time. Mm-hmm. The whole time it's him. There is nobody substituting for him. He touches Danny McBride's crotch a lot. Uh-huh.
Yeah, he shows off his ass.
Yeah.
Like he like presents it.
He used to be a stripper. He's comfortable with it.
Did he used to be a stripper? Mm-hmm. I did not know that.
It's real life.
Interesting. But, yeah, he has a gimp, and he talks about how he's fucked that guy. Made him my bitch. But while he's sort of gloating and showing off his Channing Tatum gimp, Franco devises a plan to sacrifice himself for the other two. Although mostly Seth, let's be honest.
Yes.
Because he says to Seth, like, "I'm gonna sacrifice myself for you." He does not say it to Jay.
Which mirrors the conversation when they were discussing, like...
The Pineapple Express 2.
The Pineapple Express 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they eventually begin to escape, Seth and Jay. And Franco gets caught up in a beam of light because he did sacrifice himself. But he takes his last few seconds on Earth to gloat. And he tells Danny specifically, "Suck my dick."
Yeah.
And this apparently undoes his good person points. And so the beam of light stops sucking him up. And Danny and the cannibals bite his fucking face off.
Yes.
And it's really gross, and we get to watch James Franco be eaten. While still alive and conscious. And now we know that you can't be a sore winner. Mm-hmm. Or petty when you're about to make it into heaven. Mm-hmm. Because he got rejected.
We're learning the rules.
We're learning the rules. So Jay and Seth escape from the cannibals, but they are now confronted by a giant lava demon who has to be like 200 feet tall, right?
I am terrible with that.
Yeah. It was a big thing. And it also had a giant dong that was just hanging out.
Flopping around despite physics.
Yep. And there's a bunch of lava snake/tendrils coming out of its back that seem to be active and working on its own. Mm-hmm. And so faced with death, Jay confesses to all of his misdeeds and insecurities to his best friend. And he says he just wants to die with his friend here. And as they are almost eaten by one of the snake monster tendril things, his own beam of light shines down and kills it while saving Jay. But he's the only one who got one. So Seth is still going to die by giant lava monster. Mm-hmm. But he takes Seth's hand because he wants to take him up to heaven with him. And he tries. But they're moving too slow and the light begins to fade. Which means Jay's not going to make it. And they'll both fall and they'll just die horribly anyway. Mm-hmm. So Seth decides that it's time to make his own noble sacrifice. And he releases his friend's hand so that Jay can go to heaven. While he will die on Earth. While "I Will Always Love You" plays in the background. And Seth explains that he doesn't deserve heaven, but Jay definitely does. So as he falls into the mouth of the lava demon, the crescendo of the song hits, and he gets his own beam of light, just as he would otherwise die.
Drum beat, and yep.
Right. And it has the added benefit of cleaving the demon in twain. Mm-hmm.
Cut that dick in half. Those balls exploded.
And so Jay and Seth ascend to heaven holding hands while Whitney Houston, celebrates. Yeah. And now they're in nice white clothes and they're on a literal cloud. Mm-hmm. And
they're wearing the exact same clothes, aren't they? But just like silver and white versions. I think they are.
Yeah. But Craig, they're reunited with Craig, who also made it to heaven. And he greets them and reveals their halos, because they're all dead after all.
Yep.
And it turns out heaven is just a super dope party for all time. They even have weed, and you can still swear all you want.
Right. Any idea that pops into your head happens.
Right. And so Seth thinks of a segue, while Jay thinks of the real thing that closes the movie.
Segue meaning the mode of transportation.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Segue meaning like, I get to ride a Segway.
His
all
fucking
around
dream,
heaven.
I guess. Which is great.
But Jay closes the movie by making the Backstreet Boys perform. And it's really them for the movie.
All of them.
All 5 of them. Because of course the Backstreet Boys went to heaven. And so the first time I saw this, I remember thinking like, holy shit, that's amazing. I didn't know all of them were still alive.
I did. I have people that would have texted me if any of them died.
Yeah. So we get a bit of a Soul Train moment and a Backstreet Boys song all together. And it's a sort of strange and kind of great way to end a movie and this podcast.
It's perfect.
Show's over. Go home.
Yeah.
It's everybody.
We're done, but Backstreet's back.
Yes, it's everybody. Backstreet's back if you want to know what song it is.
All right.
But so that's it. We're done.
We're done.
Let's talk about... I know, right? Let's talk about the best and the worst.
Oh, man. I love this fucking movie. I do. It doesn't have like super rewatchability for me because it is long, like you pointed out at the beginning. But honestly, this is improv done right. I've seen a lot of movies where you can tell that a lot of it's improv because it doesn't land and it doesn't fit. They're improv probably because they are actually super best friends and this movie's meta. It's like the most meta. Yeah.
Like a lot of what we do is improv because we just get along.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you
it's
can't
just friends being friends. Yeah.
You can't put people who don't have chemistry or history in a room and improv them because it's like...
I mean, so, like, people can do that, but you have to be on a level, you know? And it takes a minute to, like, find your groove. Really talented or really, you know, studied improv artists could do something like that. But these guys just, like, they just look like they had a really fun time hanging out on a green screen because 98% of this movie is just CG.
Right.
For real. Worst would be... No worst. I'm not going to put a worst on this because it's the best thing we ever watched.
That's fair.
Except for maybe Dogma.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. My best for me is I think the Emma Watson rapey thing is actually really clever.
It is really clever.
It is. See, for all those people who pretend like, oh, you can't make rape jokes. Yeah, you can. You just can't make them at expensive people.
Right.
This is how you do it.
Yes.
Because, like, it is a real thing that happens.
Rape is part of the world. Like, I feel comfortable making specific rape jokes, not just like, rape's funny, let's laugh at it.
Right,
That's very, very different. The reason you can make it funny is because it's so not funny, and that's the whole thing.
Right. In this one, they were like, let's not rape her.
We're going to talk about how we're not going to rape her, and that's
which is going to upset her.
Right, obviously.
All she hears is the word
rape by 6 men bigger than her.
So she attacks them all with an axe.
Yeah.
And gets away.
She's a badass.
To safety where she thinks. And that's great.
And then we get the gorgeous Janie McBride line, which is like Hermione stole our food.
Hermione stole our shit.
Yeah, Hermione stole our shit. Improv, brilliant.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go with best because it's a great example.
It is.
Of how you can actually make a rape joke without
Not that it needs to be everybody's goal.
Rape a joke. That's the difference.
Right.
So I'm gonna go with that, and it's a really memorable scene. And Emma Watson kicking ass is always fun to see because you don't see it very often.
No.
She's a very elegant woman, so it's unlikely that she's gonna break your nose.
It's true, but she could do it.
Oh, I believe it.
Yeah.
The worst. What is the worst? If I have to choose one.
Yeah.
And I don't want to.
Okay.
It's just the length. It's a little long.
It is a little long.
But that's about it.
Can you imagine if they kept in all the cutscenes though? Because you know.
Oh, there's definitely a lot cut.
I was surprised that they didn't have like an uncut version on that Blu-ray.
I know.
When we watched.
Yeah.
Grateful. Currently.
Because you would have watched that one for sure.
Oh, absolutely. I will always watch more information than less information.
But yeah, so if I had to choose a worst, and I'm not keen on it, but I would go with that.
Yeah.
Especially because when I look at it, like, even though it is long, there's not a ton that's super cuttable.
It's, what's funny though, is it feels long, but it's not even 2 hours.
Yeah, it's an hour.
It's 1 hour 45, right?
Maybe 40, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's not a actually long
really
movie.
long. And like
it just feels long.
Even some of the improv stuff, it's not that they don't ever bring it up again.
Right.
Because like there's a scene like 40-Year-Old Virgin, right? Where they just insult each other about how I know you're gay.
Yeah.
For like 3 minutes on screen.
I know, it's too much.
The whole scene is unnecessary.
No, Judd Apatow.
It's funny, but it's unnecessary.
Judd Apatow has a lot of great things about him. He cannot edit his own shit.
Right. But that is just completely unnecessary. A lot of the stuff in this, even if it's improv, it comes back.
Right.
So
And
it's like,
not only that, it's cohesive. Nothing feels like there's nothing I would edit out is the thing. Every joke lands. Like all of it makes sense. It connects to each other. So it's not there's swaths of things that I think what it is because it's so high octane the whole time. It's just exhausting. Maybe.
Yeah. It's just really long in the sense because you're always like. It's
on edge and focused.
The problem with this movie is it's too funny, is what we're saying.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, it's too perfect, too well done, too enjoyable. And for somebody who's like really sensitive to, the Bechdel test.
It does fail out.
It feels hard, but I don't care. It's great.
It's fine.
Yeah, in this situation, it makes all the sense in the world.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's talk about some things that are like this that are not this, that maybe one should watch alongside this.
I can give it alongside this.
Yeah.
Around the time this came out, another movie came out that I will constantly conflate with this one, and that is At World's End.
Oh, the Simon Pegg.
Right.
Yeah.
This is the end, At World's End. Came around at the same time. It's kind of like how Dante Speaking Volcano came out at the same time, and
White House Down and Olympus Has Fallen.
Exactly. There's always movies like that are simpatico, like Deep Impact and
Deep Blue Sea.
Yeah, no, Armageddon. Yeah, and these two movies don't have a lot in common necessarily in that realm. This is
This is the
World's End is an alien movie, but it's the third in the trilogy of Simon Pegg and Nick Frost and yes.
Yeah. Great series.
Great.
My personal favorite is Shaun of the Dead.
Mine too.
But I can see the argument for Hot Fuzz.
Solid.
Yes, they're all
But Shaun of the Dead all the way.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, go. You.
Mine is Craig Robinson.
Yes.
Also made a movie called Rapturepalooza.
Shut up.
With Anna Kendrick.
I love her.
Where he plays the Antichrist. And it's not as good as this movie.
Of course
but
not.
It is okay.
I love Craig Robinson.
Honestly, it's not great.
Yeah.
But it's worth seeing, and he's funny, and he does the same song, the Take Your Panties Off song.
Of course.
At least, if it's not the same song, it's very, very similar.
That's how he's known in the circle.
Because he literally, sings it, because in the movie, he is the Antichrist, and the world is already over.
Yeah.
And he's trying to woo Anna Kendrick. Mm-hmm. And so he sings to her
God, they have a 20-year age difference, I think.
Yeah, Come and Take Your Panties Off song. And she's not into it. And I like Anna Kendrick, and she's great.
Yeah, I like both of them very much.
But the movie, they're very similar in subject matter.
Yeah.
And it's not unentertaining. It's just not quite as good as this.
Another thing I'll give this movie that I appreciate is that it highlights people that are usually side characters.
Yeah.
Actors that play side characters mostly are main characters here, and they deserve every bit of it. Danny McBride, Craig Robinson,
Jay Baruchel.
No, he doesn't highlight here.
He's the main character.
He's the main character, but he's not highlighted. He's like a straight man, like him and.
Oh, I see.
Oh, and Jonah Hill. Jonah Hill, who now is legit big actor, whatever. Then he had done Moneyball, and that was what they were all making fun of him for because he was not known for that at the time. But those three are so fucking good at their jobs, and you get to see all of it on display here.
Yeah. All right, so we're done here.
We're done.
And remember, if you like the show, cherish it in your heart and go visit some of our greatest hits. These episodes aren't going anywhere.
Yeah.
But if you listen to any episode of this show, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We appreciate you.
We really do.
And for the very last time, bye.